I like sharing tips that I've learned along the way on how to not only lose weight, but to know for 100% certain that you will always be healthier than you were the day before. But one tip stands head and shoulders above the rest, and that's what we'll be talking about on today's show. You can subscribe to the Fat Guy No More podcast on iTunes or the Google Play Store by searching for Fat Guy No More. This podcast is part of the Brett Mason Media Network, and you can listen to it on our free iOS and Android app. Just search for Brett Mason Media in your respective app stores. I'm not a doctor. Nothing I say is intended to cure, prevent, or diagnose any disease. Before beginning any weight loss plan or exercise plan, you should consult with your physician. Welcome into my public weight loss journey. I am the amazing shrinking vegan fat guy. The longest title ever, I know, but I felt it was important to get all those things in. I do eat a plant-based diet, mostly plant-based diet, and whole food, I should say, mostly whole food plant-based diet. And so I try to eat mostly whole foods that you grow on a tree or on a bush or in a ground. That's my goal. Of course, there's things I eat outside of that. Well, what are you talking about? Well, let's take, for instance, the meat substitute that I like to eat. That isn't a whole food. That doesn't grow out on a tree somewhere, but it really is good when I make my homemade sloppy joes and I make chili. So, you know, you got to have things that you like. And no matter what you're trying to do, what health goals you're trying to achieve, you should enjoy what you're doing. And that's been one of the greatest tips, is try to approach things in a way that I enjoy. And I know for a lot of people, you're thinking, well, I'm never going to enjoy eating a whole food plant-based diet. You'd be surprised. I was a guy who ate fast food 3 times a day, every day. That's just what I ate. The only time I didn't eat fast food was if I went out to a dinner, you know, in a restaurant setting on a date, or I went to my mom's house and she cooked, or I was invited over to a friend's house and we cooked. I mean, other than that, or a convenience store, I would often stop and, you know, get 5 or 6 different kinds of Little Debbie snack cakes and a big thing of chocolate milk and take that into work in the morning and have that for breakfast. But other than that, it was fast food for me. And I liked that and I enjoyed that. So if I can come from that to being a guy who prepares 97% of everything I eat in my kitchen, and of that, probably 80 to 85% of it is whole food, plant-based food, and I like it, then you can too. But it hasn't happened overnight. It was something that I started. Actually, I started back in the beginning of 2014, experimenting with it, playing around with it, trying to get better at it. And then May 29th, 2014 was the day that I went vegan. Actually went raw vegan. And I'll tell you, I'm just now getting comfortable with it. So it takes a while, because it's just like, think about how long it took you to learn to eat the regular way. You know, you were a child, your parents fed you certain foods, you adapted and learned what you liked. And then as you got into a teenager and you started making more of your own food choice decisions, whether it was out to eat with your friends or at the cafeteria at school or et cetera. And then as you moved into adulthood and you got away from your parents, and so it was this long evolving process to learn how you eat, what you like, what you're accustomed to. You can't just change all of that in a week or two. Now, you can change it, but you won't be comfortable with it. And I find that that's why a lot of people who try to move to a more whole food plant-based diet, because they know the science is overwhelming. And I don't like to get in debate with people that eat meat, because you just can't win. They want to believe that it's healthy. They will cling to any little minute study here and there and yonder to prove that it doesn't cause heart disease, and that it doesn't cause strokes, and it doesn't cause type 2 diabetes, and it doesn't cause the erectile dysfunction. And that, you know, you'll find a little study here, and they'll latch onto that. And you can't tell them anything else, when every year hundreds of studies come out proving that cancer causes erectile dysfunction. Not cancer. Meat causes erectile dysfunction. Meat causes cardiovascular disease. Meat causes cardiac arrest, heart disease, vascular disease, stroke, cancer. Just every year, hundreds of studies come out that prove it conclusively over and over and over again. But if you like eating a cheeseburger, you're going to cling to the one tiny research study that came from somewhere that showed something was okay. And so until a person is ready to give that up, they're probably not going to be as inclined to change. So you have to make the decision. But I try to really tailor this show where I talk about my weight loss to where it can hit more people than just people who are vegans, because a lot of the same principles apply. And I hope that with success and a little discipline or whatever, that people will move towards things like that. Because that's the first thing you got to do. When you have a weight problem, you are not in control. You don't have discipline. If you had discipline, you had control, and you understood the food you're eating, then you wouldn't be overweight. And there's a lot of things that contribute to it. It's not just a mental, a conscious decision. There's a lot of subconscious decisions, things from your childhood all the way up that affect the reasons you eat the way you eat. But you can control it, and you can learn to like things that are healthy, and I'm living proof of that. So the number one thing that supersedes all other things in terms of losing weight, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but that's why you're here, to hear my opinion, right? It's accountability. And that's one reason that I do a YouTube channel, and that I do this podcast, and that I post on Facebook, and I have a Facebook page. It's accountability. It's very difficult for me to put out there that I know I'll never go back and share that proudly and publicly and then go back, because I don't want to look like a fool. I don't want to be a buffoon. And so even when I have 2 or 3 days where I go on a binge, and I talked about binging in last week's show, so if you missed it, go back and listen to it. But if you go on a binge, you will get back. It's just another added layer of getting back out of it, the accountability thing. So I also have a friend that I talk to about weight loss all the time. Like, we discuss my diet and my exercise, and many times I will send her a text and go, "Oh God, I'm going to McDonald's right now," or something, and she'll text back, or she'll jump on and call and go, "What's wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you? Chill out for 10 minutes, drink you some water, and then think about what you really want to eat." I'll tell you, that doesn't happen very often, but it happens occasionally. So I'm a food addict. I'm always going to be a food addict, but I'll tell you, the more I eat healthy, the less of a food addict I become as far as cravings go, as far as craving things that I shouldn't eat, because I just enjoy eating the things that I should eat so much. So, it's one thing to try to be accountable to yourself, and you can try, and there's several things you need to do to that end. But you really need a partner or a person that you can be accountable to, or that can help you or inspire you or get you through tough times. And then I really think you should use Facebook to your advantage, or Twitter, whatever it is you use, whatever your favorite social media is. And tweet about your struggles, tweet about your successes, tweet about how confident you are, tweet about the latest things you've learned, and put it out there. Because once it's out in the ethos, there's just something powerful about that. And then you just feel all that much more accountable. You just do. To that end, MyFitnessPal is another form of personal accountability. I track everything I eat every day. Back in 2013, when I started tracking my food, it was very difficult. And I just went back and looked through 2013 because I was trying to determine how many calories I was eating back then when I was having such successful weight loss. And I wanted to compare that to what I'm eating now. I'll tell you one thing, my metabolism has definitely slowed, because I can't eat as many calories now as I did then and lose weight. I'm having to eat less calories now than I did back in 2013. Age probably has something to do with that. But I was looking back, and I would see where I would skip weeks or whatever. And I just don't skip weeks now. I went through a little blip where I had a lot of things going, a lot of traveling and stuff going on, where I didn't do it for a few days. But mostly since 2014, I've pretty much logged what I eat every day. And so it's a personal accountability. It's just personal accountability. Here's how I'm going to be accountable today. I have to be accountable to myself. What's the easiest, most beneficial thing to do that. And it's tracking what I eat in MyFitnessPal every day. Now, if you want to pick another one, there's something out there called Chronometer, which a lot of people like. And there's other ones, but I just like MyFitnessPal. It seems to work best for me. But being accountable to yourself, it's step number one. And I just read a study yesterday. People who use a service like MyFitnessPal lose twice as much weight as people who don't use that. People who track their food every day lose twice as much weight as people who don't track their food every day. And if you do it for a while, you'll see why. Because you just won't realize how much you're eating. You just don't realize how much you're eating. It doesn't seem like you're eating that much. I'll give you a good example. The last trip me and my mom made up to Birmingham, for whatever reason that day, I always try to prepare most of the food that I'm going to carry up there the night before. And then I'll get up that morning, because we usually leave really early, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 in the morning. Just depends on what the schedule is for that day. So I'll throw the last little bit of it together that morning, because it's hard to find vegan food up there. And so it's just easier to just carry your food. Well, anyway, that day I didn't. And the next thing you know, we had our first step, and I'm craving stuff. And I get this, I think it was a little thing of orange juice and I don't remember what it was that went with it. Some kind of a muffin, or I don't know what it was. Might have been nuts. I'm a fan of nuts. And then the next thing you know, we're stopping somewhere else, and I'm getting something else. And then we're at the hospital, and I get something there. Well, when I got home that night, I decided to log because I thought I'd done pretty good. Even though I didn't have food, I thought I did pretty good that day. I'm like, well, you did. It wasn't optimum, and you didn't really have the food you should have had. But you did, under the circumstances, you did pretty good. I logged that food in that night when it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting here logging that food in. I eat double the amount of calories that I should eat every day. Double. And that's me. I'm 2 years into this tracking food thing. I just off the top of my head just kind of know what most foods are. I just because I've tracked so many foods and I've done it so long. But I didn't track that day, and after it was all over, I was off by double. I had doubled what I'd normally eat, and I knew I'd go over. Look, there was no doubt I was going to go over, because if you eat this crap that comes in packages and is sold in restaurants, and they're just calorie dense, and nutrition poor. So you just can't eat as much food to get the same amount of calories. So I knew that how much I ate was just going to be over, but I thought I'd be like 20, 30% over. I thought I really did. It was double. It was actually a little more than double. Being accountable is the way to go. So a final update. I'm still in this plateau. I thought I'd broke the plateau, I guess 4 days ago, because I dropped like 2 pounds. When I got on the scale that morning, I dropped like 2 pounds. But the next day it went up a pound. The next day it went up a pound, and I'm right back where I started. I've been there. I think I've been on this plateau now for probably 14, 21. It might even be 21 days I've been at this plateau. My body is refusing to give it weight right now. It's kind of frustrating to me. I've actually reached out to some friends of mine, asked them if, I'm trying to decide, have I damaged my metabolism in some kind of way? Is my body revolting? Is there something I can do to change it? Right now, I'm going with what's called a refeed. So I've actually upped my calories by about 25%, which is scary. Look, when you've invested as much time as I have in losing 50 pounds, and now suddenly to try to break this plateau, I'm going to up my calories 25% every day. That is scary to me. It's so scary, because I do not want to give up the ground that I've gained. But I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking I try not to worry about what happens from day to day or week to week. And I think today was the 3rd day of me upping my calories 25%. And I haven't gained any weight. Still at the same weight. So we'll see. The theory is I'm trying to convince my body that it's okay. We're fine. We're not starving for food. We got plenty of food on hand. Everything is fine. Let's drop some weight. But I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Nevertheless, be accountable is my tip today. Be accountable. And I'm actually working on a plan where will be happy to work with people on a one-on-one basis, so I can actually be your accountability person, and then also share strategies and help you succeed. But I don't have that put together yet, but I would love to do that with somebody. So even though it's not worked out, if that's something you're interested in, just shoot me a message on Facebook, okay? And hang in there. Look, just be consistent. Do what you do, and you'll get there. I promise you will.